before proceeding across the Mississippi River, joining the great pioneer wave that flooded the American West beginning around the beginning of the 19th century, let's review some of the key earlier circumstances, addressed in Volume 1, that put the foreign migration westward in motion. The staging ground was the eastern frontier. The frontier of North America was never a single place or time. The boundary of foreign intervention in nature and native tribal territory steadily evolved from day one of the arrival of Europeans on the Pacific and Atlantic coasts of the continent. Once a settlement was established, pioneers wandered further afield. New markers were posted, usually by a few individuals. Then flocks of migrants followed, hoisting their belongings and depositing them in a new place. The pattern repeated itself for centuries while the numbers of persons taking part multiplied almost exponentially. The frontier, until near the beginning of the 19th century, hung along the Appalachian Mountains chain, ranging from the southern swamps of Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, and Louisiana, all the way north to the Great Lakes and Canada. Its wilderness character spilled over the Ohio, Allegheny, and Monongahela rivers in the north, the Big Sandy and Cumberland rivers in Kentucky, and the Tennessee River tributaries like the Nolichucky, sometimes branded the Dangerous River or River of Death, the Clinch, and the Holston. In the far south, brave souls ventured along the Chattahoochee River, which today forms the southern half of Alabama and Georgia border, plus part of Florida and the Georgia border. It is a tributary of the Apalachicola River, emptying from Florida into Apalachicola Bay in the Gulf of Mexico. Of course, there was plenty of other frontier, so to speak. However, the Revolutionary War, following on the French and Indian Wars, left intact a specified area of civilization that morphed into states almost immediately after the conflicts. Colonies evaporated and politicians emerged to manage the affairs of the citizens of all the United States. Traders, adventurers, entrepreneurs, and just ambitious people who were not so impressed by the demise of English government and its replacement with regulations moved further west, first following Boone's wilderness road to the forest beyond. Many New England families began to succumb to enticements to join flatboats drifting or poled along the Ohio River toward its ultimate junction with the far Mississippi River. Beyond was a greater unknown, and until 1803, a region claimed by France. A sanguine Thomas Jefferson secured that west by what today has been branded the Louisiana Purchase. The frontier of the revolutionary times took on an entirely new and larger meaning. Characters like Daniel Boone and Davy Crockett inherited heroic frontier personas that persist. Simon Girty, Irishman Captain Sam Brady, Henry Hairbuyer Hamilton, and others stirred resentments and warfare, even torture and massacre. Native American chiefs and warriors also gained favor or discredit. In Volume 1, I identified and related some of the circumstances that created their legends. In any event, the lives of early Eastern frontier folk were quite complex, understandably. Sometimes the distinction between good and bad, hero and killer, patriot and conspirator, is murky and subject to caveat. Pioneers navigated obstacles presented by nature and weather, as well as threats from hostile natives. Survival was a paramount consideration of both the red man and the often trespassing pale-faced settler. Religion was not as strong a guiding light on the frontier as it was in more urbanized and developed communities along the coast. At least not until the Second Revival movement and camp meetings took hold in the first half of the 1800s. Evangelists then attempted to spread more civility among the white folks and the Indians too, with some success. Scalping and baptisms went hand in hand. But scalping raids began to subside east of the Mississippi. West of the river, though, the hair-raising conflicts proceeded until virtually the start of the 20th century. Men and women of Scotch-Irish character tended to congregate along the fringes of habitable lands at first. Although no one was discouraged from land grabs, except Indians, the flintlock rifle, an ubiquitous tool of the woods, found its way from the Swiss gunsmiths of Lancaster, Pennsylvania, into the forts and homesteads further west, and into the hands of some natives too. Pelts and hides of the wildlife flowed in the opposite direction to keep Easterners warm. Buckskins, or deer hides, were a primary money of barter for the backcountry hunter and farmer. A buckskin bought a dollar's worth of goods. "Can you spare a buck, sir?" is not a phrase to be taken lightly. After 1800, Indian violence tended to subside somewhat in the East, although the British kept the pot stirred through the short War of 1812. Andrew Jackson's Indian removal politics later essentially transferred the Native American conflicts west across the Mississippi. I wish to read a letter from a brother Nathan Beeks, sent near the close of the French and Indian War. It was published under the title "Barbarities Along the American Frontier," letter sent from Trenton, New Jersey to Yorkshire, England on December 6, 1762, in which Virginia, Maryland, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and New York were designated as the, quote, "American frontier."
Dear friend and relation, I thank thee for thy congratulation of a peace, and a peace that occasioned great rejoicings in every part of our country. Such is the great change of human affairs, which pleases divine providence to suffer at this time, since the peace was proclaimed. Then our frontier, Virginia, Maryland, Pennsylvania, and New Jersey, with New York, are great desolation made on the poor inhabitants of these frontiers by the savages, great numbers of which are killed and scalped, both men and women and children, too horrid to mention, occasioned, as is said, by settling their lands at Pittsburgh, on the Ohio, elsewhere, without purchasing the same. But is further surmised, the French, who is suffered to live on the conquered lands, are not clear of stirring them up to such barbarities, which are daily committed, and great numbers have left their habitations and fled to the most populous parts of the provinces to preserve their lives. In order to stop these depredations, the people are sent out in scouting parties, if possible, to meet with the savages, who go in small parties, to put a stop to such barbarities. Some troops are voted by the several assemblies of the provinces, and we have notice of some thousands that are sent from England but have not yet arrived. How this will end and when, God knows. But we hope an end will be put to it by distressing them and oblige them to sue for peace. But at present, by every post, we receive the melancholy news of numbers of poor inhabitants have been slain, and others fled, their houses and barns burnt with the grain. From my daughters, together with myself, join in our best respects to thee and spouse, with and children affectionate, friend and kinsman, Ensign Beeks, 1763.